3 years ago on this Sunday, the Joy Sunday, the Merry Sunday of Advent, I shared some hard news with you all. We had found out that our oldest child has a complex medical condition. This year, as we're sharing our sermons on YouTube, I'll keep names and details and even gender to myself. But I shared my journey as the parent of my oldest child trying to protect her own journey. I shared the things that are obvious when you see her and kept the unknowns and details as private. One of the most obvious things about my oldest child is that my oldest child is A, wise, and B, joyful. The most joyful person I've known, with every reason not to be joyful, and with deep understanding and emotional intelligence to be well aware of all of my oldest child's reasons not to be joyful. I made a promise to my oldest child in the midst of all the pain and uncertainty of our shared future that we would laugh every day. No matter what, we will laugh every day. Now, I made that promise well before I had met 2020, but even given 2020, it still feels like a cheater promise. Again, my child is easily the person I know with the least reason to be joyful, while simultaneously being the single most joyful person I know. Just this week, I sat my oldest on my lap and just hysterical laughter upon laughter upon laughter for no apparent reason, no evident reason other than the joy of life. This third Sunday of Advent is the day we celebrate Mary. The third Sunday of Advent is a day we consider joy. The third Sunday of Advent, 3 years ago, I shared with you all the hardest news I have yet to share with anyone. And here's a snippet of what I said. And so we come back to this week, to Mary, to parenting, to hope, to fear. Nowhere else do fear and joy dance so dizzying and dazzling than in the third week of Advent. Mary was a teen, but her words show us she was deeply wise. She had to know that a revolution of love would not come without cost. She had to know this child would be all her hopes, wrapped up in her greatest joy, that would bring her her deepest pain. It is all there. Our family invites you, I said as I concluded, to a deeply and holistically happy third week of Advent. All her hopes wrapped up in her greatest joy that would bring her her deepest pain. It's all there. I shared this piece of my message on a private parenting group I'm a part of, and there was this love and support for me and my family, but even with completely healthy kiddos, there was still this resonance. So many parents said, yes, this is your journey. Yes, this is Mary's journey, but it's every parent's journey. And I shared this piece of the message with some other folks who journey with us, people who aren't actually parents in the strictest way. And there was love and support for me as a parent and for all parents. But even without parenting children in the strictest sense, there was still this resonance. We heard, yes, this is your journey. This is Mary's journey. This is every parent's journey. But in some essential ways, it is everyone's journey. We are all parenting the future. Every human, every organization, every organism, every rock, every beehive, pot of soil, and raindrop. We are all parenting the future. And in so many ways, we are all wise enough to know that a revolution of love is absolutely necessary and the need for it is immediate. And we are all wise enough to know it will not come without costs. Every Advent, we await that year's Christ child. As we await 2020's Christ child, the presence of Christ, of the eternal one, of liberation, of love, of justice, of ecological healing, of mutual well-being, of wholeness in a fragmented world, as we await Christ's presence in this coming year, we are wise enough to know that a revolution of love will be costly and difficult. We have to know, as our Mother Mary knows, this child, this Christ, this presence of God in the coming year and years will be all our hopes wrapped up in our greatest joy that brings us our deepest pain. It's all there. And so the invitation is to a deeply and holistically happy year, happy years, life beyond life, future we leave for generations who will never even know our names. And so again, this is the Sunday we remember Mary. It is the Sunday we celebrate joy. And as we follow Kathy Escobar's A Weary World, this year it is the Sunday we embrace paradox. As we listen to Mary accept the angel's invitation to her tumultuous journey, it is as clear as two planets uniting to make the Christmas star this coming week. Embracing paradox is an essential Christian practice, an essential action, an essential position of our hearts to live in God's love for a weary world. As I said 3 years ago, it's all there, all our hopes wrapped up in our greatest joy that will bring us our deepest pain. And so, once more, I invite you to a season and a year and a decade and a lifetime and an eternal lifetime and a legacy that still dances in the ether decades and centuries after this life ends for you. I invite you to holistic happiness. I invite you to universal parenthood, to its joys and its pains and the reality that they are ever tied together in a dizzying dance. I invite you to joy. I invite you to embrace the paradox that unlocks joy and makes good on a promise that no matter what, we can indeed laugh every single day. I invite you to the age-old wisdom of my 4-year-old. In the name of our Creator, who the psalmist told us made sea monsters just to play with, live a joyous and just life. In the name of Christ, who paused for a hearty meal on the eve of his murder at the hands of the state with assistance of religion and his friends, live a joyous and welcoming life. In the name of Spirit, who dances their way through history, ever bending the arc of the universe toward goodness, live a joyous and loving life. Like Mary, we know that a revolution of love will come, but not without cost. It will be all our hopes, wrapped up in joy that brings us our deepest pain. It's all there. And as we embrace paradox, may we find ourselves wrapped up in the eternal joy of the God who is love. Amen.